Rain, Canto 3. Maya, hurry! Alex's voice broke her reverie. She was outside the cathedral yet again, the sharp sunlight forcing her to squint even as it cut through Alex's approaching figure across the red and black and grey limestone mosaic that laid the world out beneath them. As he advanced, he called to her not to worry. The stone beneath their feet would keep them from sinking, even if they cut through the expanse of the ocean across the map. Of course, how silly. A small laugh escaped Maya. But before she could move, the stone was once again water, the raft again beneath her. Alex's beckoning voice disappeared into the echoes of another voice, worn from years of singing and prayer and laced with jollity. Haraka haraka haina baraka. Maya spun abruptly to find her great-grandmother sitting beside her. Alex vanished, and Maya reeled again, disoriented. She did not know where she was. Were they back at the lake? Inside the waking dream? The old woman's slow warble hummed merrily as if trying to coax the music out of a shy song. If you want to see, my child, open your eyes. Be patient. The music in her great-grandmother's voice was usually comforting to Maya. Now she felt frustrated, suspicion thrumming on her heart. How was she supposed to be patient when she could not even find her bearings? Mama Koth's enigmatic songs were exciting, but sometimes they just perplexed. Maya turned around one more time, wondering whether she might find herself standing over the world by the banks of the Tagus again. Instead, the lake below her raft just began to spin a little. No matter which way she faced, she found water, the compass needle fixedly trained on her heart. My child, Akoth continued in Maya's dreaming ear. You cannot learn anything like this. If you truly want to see, you have to open your mind's eye, and you also have to be patient. Listen, listen. Pole pole ndio mwendo. Maya still did not quite understand what Mama Koth meant, nor was she of a mind to see. Was Alex still in Lisbon? Had she been to Lisbon? Yes. The smell was unmistakable. She could not dream a smell like that, and she did not know anyone who lived in Lisbon, so she must have been there herself. Sometimes it took her a while to sort out whose eyes she was seeing through. Sometimes she could not even tell whether it was her own. But smells were different. Unless they were so strong that they shocked the senses or carried for miles, they did not usually enter waking dreams. Yes, she must have gone to Lisbon with Alex. They had planned the trip for as long as she could remember. He took her there for her 18th birthday. No, it was later. She was definitely still 18 when they left. Alex did not keep time very well. But a dozen years had come and gone since that fateful trip, and Alex had vanished as if into the sunlight at the center of the great lake on the stone map in Lisbon. A dozen years searching, and not even the pointlessly ornate compass that she desperately hoped would finally help had been of any use. It multiplied her frustration by belying Alex's solemn insistence that the truth of the compass was absolute. She blinked into the sunlight, the scintillating rays that bounced off the surface of the water dazzling and dizzying. Where was the stone? Where was the map? How did pavement become lake water? How had lake water become pavement? Maya listened, wondering. What if she could join her great-grandmother, who now dwelt in the realm of the ancestors at will? What if she could find the breach that brought her in and out of time unbidden? What if she could control it? Perhaps then she would understand how to wait for change. Perhaps then She would know the world as Alex did, as Mama Akoth did. Akoth was Olo's youngest child, the jewel of his heart. She was born when both her mother and her father died during a rainstorm in the middle of the long, dry season. When the midwife brought the infant to her disconsolate grandmother to be presented to the ancestors, a whole moon had come and gone following Olo's burial, and his spirit spoke for the child and named her after the rain that had claimed his life. Nyanam heard the name her son wanted his little one to have and decided to take the child into her house as her own. Olo's other wives, still living, who wanted to adopt the child, especially the two who had cared for the baby during the moon Nyanam mourned her son, pleaded to take the infant. But Nyanam would not hear of it. Olo's claim, made so soon after departing from time, woke Nyanam out of her unvital stupor and soothed the raw anguish of losing her beloved son and departed daughter-in-law. She vowed that the child would have the best care and education as only she could provide. Before Olo died, Nyanam had watched helplessly for a long time after the long rains had passed as her son wrestled the waking dream that consumed his life. In the gloom of his mother's hut, where he sat in a trance like none she had seen before, she thought she heard his appeal to Lolwe, the spirit of the lake, not to abandon its home. She thought she heard him try to assure it that the approaching danger would pass, that the people of the lake would need its protection more than ever. Who would keep the boats safe and fill the nets and baskets with fish if the spirit of the lake let fear drive it away? Nyanam had felt the shock that jolted Olo's body as lightning flared and his head grew cold in his communion with the spirit of the lake. His face was a gelid sun radiating through a veil of mist, and Nyanam feared that he had reached too far. But she let her faith in him, her beautiful, gifted son, still her impulse to call him back. And then, for a moment, the spirit of the lake seemed reassured, and the young mother let herself breathe. But when Olo finally drew back, believing his communion complete, it seemed as if the spirit of the lake fled, frightened before he could reassure it. In the wake of its flight, a wild wind swept over the bay, and a heavy, inexorable rain began to fall, even though it was the middle of the dry season. Nyanam saw blue luminous sparks hover and flash around her son's crown and understood that he had indeed gone beyond her reach. The violent rainstorm, the wildest the bay could remember, claimed Olo's life. Thunder shook the earth, and lightning split the graphite firmament. Roiling waves churned the clear waters of the lake, and fish that had long lived there in quiet ease choked on the cloudy soup. Berserk winds tore away the thatch from the strongest roofs of the homes in the bay, and floods covered the millet fields that stood ready for harvest, and flattened huts and granaries. After a week, the storm blew itself out. For a month following, the lake was unapproachable, and fishing came to a standstill. Boats that had ventured out into the water sank, taking their fishermen with them. As long as the spirit of the lake stayed away, everyone feared the unprotected waters of the bay. Olo breathed his last in the middle of the night at the very moment his youngest child's body emerged into the world. Nyanam raised her voice to lament her son's death, even as the infant, thrust unsuspecting into the cold, glaring, clamorous air, raised its voice to wail. The baby drew breath in fitful sobs, and its mother's broken body spent its last and lay quiet and lifeless. A month passed, and Nyanam had to present the child to the ancestors before another moon waned, so she opened the doors to her son's sealed house and carried the infant inside at the head of a procession that included all of Olo's surviving wives and their children. No one expected Olo to claim the baby. Nobody remembered the last time the spirit of a father had claimed a newborn, to say nothing of a father who had died during the baby's birth. It was often left to aunts and uncles and the generations that preceded them to offer a name the child could bear in its sojourn in the world of time. Yet it was indeed Olo whose voice rose to sing the infant's name, and Yanam's heart caught flame. She listened with a joy she could no longer recognize when Olo answered for the newborn, and did not just call her Ajuang to signify her father's early death. Instead, he named her Akoth for the rain, endowing an air out of the ruinous storm to sing the song of becoming for those who were and who were yet to be.